Introducing National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk programming that you can access 24/7. For the premier sports talk experience, tap into our Roku channel. Start your mornings with Mac and Jack covering all the weekend sports action. Then pour a cup and enjoy all the sports you can drink on the Coffee and Sports podcast. At midday, talk sports from east to west on the Coast to Coast podcast. Followed at night by some hot girl talk with Prim and Proper Sports featuring Sonia Pearson. Talk boxing on the Gloved Fist. Yankee fans tune in for Start Spreading the News. And there's more on the College Sports Huddle and Sports Scope with Robert Butler. There are 20 podcasts in all and 70 weekly shows giving us a 3.4-star viewer rating. To find us on Roku TV, search for National Streaming Sports on the Roku search bar. Click on the logo and you're in. National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk for America. It just might be the greatest sports franchise in the history of sports. A place where legends are made, and there's always something to talk about. Get ready to immerse yourself in pinstripes. Start Spreading the News, hosted by Paul Semendinger and E.J. Fagan, a couple of doctors with a prescription for Yankee fever. And now, here's Dr. Paul Semendinger and Dr. E.J. Fagan. Get ready to start spreading the news.
Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Start Spreading the News Yankees show. I was looking for a Mets shirt. I knew there wasn't one in my house. I had once coached a Little League team that was the Mets. You just basically get assigned a team. I had a Mets hat somewhere. I couldn't find it. I was going to wear it and get everyone angry at me. It would have been a joke. I am not a Mets fan. I don't hate the Mets. The Mets also have a player that I really, really like. This guy named Juan Soto. They also have a shortstop who I wish the Yankees had named Francisco Lindor. But they're both playing in Queens. And we'll talk a lot about Juan Soto. But ladies and gentlemen, tonight we have a very, very, very special guest. Yeah, Mike Whiteman. That's not the special guest. Mike Whiteman will be joining us. This was all a joke. Mike knew that was happening. We have a better guest. And no, not just E.J. Fagan. Well, yes, it's E.J., but it's not E.J. It's the new, the better, the best E.J. Fagan. E.J. Fagan the fifth. Ladies and gentlemen, there he is.
Hello, everybody.
Great new E.J.
Yeah, this guy found out about the Soto news last night. He's been crying a little bit ever since. But we're going to get through it together, right, buddy? We're going to learn a little emotional resilience, and his mother's also a little sick. So, hello.
so EJ might be on and off with us, and of course, the great Mike Whiteman is also here. Just a quick note: this show is brought to you by Artemisia Publishing. Artemisia Publishing is a great publishing house located in New Mexico. They are a traditional publisher with phenomenal authors, including one named Paul Semendinger. That's right, the Roy White book, the least among them. The 365.2, Scattering the Ashes, 4 titles written by yours truly. Go to apbooks.net. They have a ton of great authors, a ton of great books, and you will be completely mesmerized by the great stuff. But here he is, ladies and gentlemen, EJ, Mike Whiteman, and I. Why doesn't everybody just give their initial reaction to the fact that for the first time in the history of baseball, the Yankees were outbid on a premier free agent by the Mets?
I think the Yankees made a great offer, right? They made an offer that's probably was too much money, and the Mets made an offer that was a little bit more too much money. And, I think it's going to hurt for a while, but I think this is a bad contract. And I think we're going to be thanking the Yankees for, 5-6 years from now that they didn't sign it. We could be wrong about that, right? Soto could have a Ted Williams-like career. He could have a Miguel Cabrera-like career. And, he could get paid $55 million a year at the end of the Mets contract, which is insane. So, I don't think this is, I think at times we've criticized the Steinbrenners for being a little cheap. Making kind of some short-sighted decisions, like trying to get into the cap 4 or 5 years ago. A couple of people that passed on, like Bryce Harper. That's not the case here. right? I mean, they made a massive offer to Juan Soto, and the Mets just made a little bigger one, and he picked the bigger offer. Sometimes it's just money.
Michael?
I'm not quite where EJ is yet, but I think I'll get there. It is hard to be angry at offering $760 million. That's for sure. It hurts, but I don't think the sky is falling. I think there is still plenty of opportunity to field a really, really good team in 2025. But I have to admit, I was really kind of looking forward to seeing Judge and Soto together for a long time and seeing what the two of them could produce together, because I think they were both good for each other. And so I was kind of excited about the long-term numbers, but it is what it is.
All right, so my take's a little bit different than both of you. The Yankees, to me, are very good at playing the game to placate the fans and make the fans say, oh, look at that offer. The Yankees knew what the Mets' final offer was. Scott Boras went back to them. Andy Martino reported that today on The Fan as I was pulling into my college class, so I didn't get to hear the entire conversation with Evan and Tiki on WFAN. But they came back and they said, this is the offer. This is what the Mets offered. You going to match it? And the Yankees still, which is reminiscent of last year when Yoshi Yamamoto was available and he was there at $325, and the Yankees said, yeah, no, we're offering $300. And then everybody says, what a nice offer. The Yankees really did a good job. That's nice. It's good. It's good to make big offers. I could offer.
Paul, let me ask you, would your opinion change? Would your opinion change if we get the full account of the bidding at 700? The Yankees said, okay, we'll go to 725, and then it was 730, then it was 750, and at some point they said no, right? Because to me, like when you frame it as just hey, you were fine with 750, and why not do 20 more? That can go to infinity. At some point you say that's too much money, right? And I think that was too much money for Soto. Steve Cohen doesn't care. The Mets are a little bit better set up to absorb a really, really, really large contract. But I don't fault the Steinbrenners for only offering $750 million.
In a vacuum, I agree with you. But when each time there's a thing like this, that you always come up just a little short.
Well, they didn't for Judge, right? They offered enough to get Judge, right? They offered enough to get Garrett Cole. They offered enough to get Carlos Rodon. Not the best decision. I think that the Yankees are one of 30 teams, and we can't expect them to be special, right? To get the free agent because they deserve it. Well, they're not. They don't have the most money, right? The Mets have the most money because Steve Cohen has $20 billion. One interesting thing about this contract that I think was more important to the difference between the contract and people give him credit for is that Soto gets a $70 million bonus like tomorrow. Most teams would have to take out a pretty big loan with interest to get $70 million into someone's bank account tomorrow. Steve Cohen does not. And then, the Steinbrenners, basically their entire wealth is the Yankees, so that they don't have like $70 million, presumably, to float the team. So I don't know. Like I think that we should not fault the Steinbrenners yet. Now, if they don't do anything else, then we fault them, right? If they like throw up their hands and say, well, Max Fried was too expensive, Corbin Burns was too expensive, Alex Bregman was too expensive, Cody Bellinger, whatever. If they settle for peanuts and decide, we're going to slip under the luxury tax next year or something like that, then we can talk, I think, about the Steinbrenners being a problem.
Hey, buddy?
I know it's really sad.
EJ the Fifth just agreed with me. Just so you
know.
No,
and I think he just said that he's a fan of my trade that I wrote about today. So there you go, right, buddy? Yes.
Oh my goodness, we'll get to that. I hope we get to that. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So let me ask you this. I'm going to take this just in a little bit of a different direction. I think the Yankees will do stuff. I don't think the Yankees won't do stuff. I don't think they're going to do things that are smart because, by and large, they haven't done things that are smart. EJ, again, is agreeing with me. Then we'll let Mike jump in because so far I've been dominating the conversation. if the Yankees go out and spend, I don't know, let's even say 70 million. And that 70 million is for Cody Bellinger, Walker Buehler, Tyro Estrada, who's not going to cost a whole lot, Nolan Arenado, Paul Goldschmidt, and I don't know, some other guys of that ilk. Just like the Yankees went out and got Carlos Beltran, said, oh my God, yeah, he's still got a couple years left. Or they went out and they got Josh Donaldson. Yeah, he's got some years left. Or they went out and they got Troy Tulowitzki. Yep, he's gotten Jay Bruce. And this seems to be the Yankee response. Like, well, no, we'll spend money. We'll just get a whole bunch of guys who, if you squint real hard, look like they're going to be great, but they're well past their prime. But then nobody can criticize us for not getting the premier player. What do you think of that, Mike? Am I wrong?
No, I don't think you're wrong. I think too often they have gone that route. I certainly, my thoughts are, I think they're going to have to go big. I think you're going to have to get, at least one of the big free agent pitchers. I don't think you can say you can bring in Walker Buehler and say, yeah, he's the guy. He's going to be, part of the equalizer. If you want to bring in Walker Buehler for, depth or something like that, maybe you could. But I think you're right. I think they have in the past gone for that route, gone for the Josh Donaldsons, gone for those types of guys. And again, kind of hoping for lightning in a bottle with those guys and maybe hoping to get 1 or 2 more years out of them. So I think there is the temptation for that. My hope is that they don't. I'm not sure if I'm confident that they don't, because they do have a so-so track record recently.
EJ? EJ's.
Hold on. We have a situation going on here. Let me try to talk while the situation goes on. Hey, buddy. Look, I think if the scenario you laid out
take
is
care
correct,
of EJ. Yeah,
I'll take care.
Right back to you. This is the best. Listen.
Oh wait, he's good. He's good. Oh
okay,
wait, he's not good. All right, this is here. Quick answer. I'll be quicker than I ever have on the show and let Mike talk. Look, if they do exactly what you said, you're right. I don't think they will. I think they're going to buy someone at full price. Who is that person? Do they buy 2 guys? Do they do 1 guy at full price and 1 guy who's cheap? 1 guy like a Arenado? That's a difference. And
all right, so Mike, you read my long article today, yes?
I did.
Beautifully written, brilliant words. Obviously, some
Absolutely.
people are.
As always.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you, though. Listen, the pushback is, and tell me where I'm wrong on this. I just think it's, I'm getting frustrated with some of the commentary that just seems, I don't know, self-serving. Like, my guys are great, and anybody who's not my guy is terrible. And some of the readers are pushing back on this. Like, Soto has no loyalty. He should have been a Yankee. How does he have no loyalty? And then in the same moment, Yankees got to go get Corbin Burns. Well, if they get Corbin Burns, he's just as much of a traitor. And they got Garrett Cole. He's just as much of a traitor. And they got Reggie, who is just as much of a traitor, and Winfield and Giambi and any number of great free agents, Masahiro Tanaka, Hideki Arabu, Hideki Matsui, every single free agent they ever got was a traitor then, but we root for them. But they're okay traders because they went to the Yankees. But if you're a Yankee and you go to another team, you're a bad trader. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it doesn't. At least it doesn't intellectually.
Thank you.
I can look at logically and say, yeah, that makes no sense. But we don't necessarily follow the Yankees with our heads all the time. A lot of times we follow them with our hearts, and it hurts. And you think, why in the world would Juan Soto not want to spend the next 15 years playing for the Yankees, playing with Aaron Judge, get a monument at Monument Park, go into the Hall of Fame with the, with the pinstripes. We all look at that as Yankee fans and think, who wouldn't want that? Who wouldn't want that? So it hurts. So I think, sometimes I don't know that we necessarily look at it with logic. I know I don't all the time. So,
and he was here for 1 year, right?
Right.
It's not like he was here for 7 years. He's not Aaron Judge that just said, I'm going to take $20 million more and go to somewhere else. Like, he was a mercenary. We bought him.
Right.
And then
we knew that.
Signed with somebody.
We knew that.
Come on.
And he's already been dealt by 2 other teams. Like, I don't know. You got traded, then you got traded again. It's hard to be loyal to the 3rd team you're on in 4 years. Right? Like, people are saying, like, well, there was a tweet today. Garrett Cole, at least, is somebody good to root for. He's not in it for the money. And I'm thinking, when the Yankees signed Garrett Cole, he was the highest paid pitcher in baseball history. And when he
tried to opt out and get some more money and got his bluff called and
yes.
signed for the same contract.
Correct. And when he was with the Astros before the Yankees signed him, he was wearing a Boris hat.
He wore the Boris hat. I remember that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But he's a Yankee. So he's a good guy. So you can't criticize him. I made this point the other day. Joe DiMaggio. Now this is what happens, and I think people lose sight of the history of baseball. Joe DiMaggio, before he was Joe DiMaggio, after just 2 seasons, and they were 2 great seasons, but he'd only played 2 seasons, held out. He held out for $40,000. Mm-hmm. And the Yankees said to him, Joe, that's more than Lou Gehrig. He's like, I don't care. I want more money. He eventually becomes the first $100,000 baseball player. Babe Ruth, when baseball players weren't paid as much as the president, says, well, I had a much better year than he had when he asked for more money than Herbert Hoover. I mean, it's the same thing. The numbers are different because the situations are different. And there is no reserve clause anymore. But I mean, player after player, this is what they do. And it's like, what, they're Yankees, so it's okay. They're not to be criticized. They're not out for the money. I mean, the blog used to be called "It's About the Money," right, EJ?
That's right.
I mean, and look, the Steinbrenners have bought plenty of players away from play. Johnny Damon helped us win the 2009 World Series. We did not like Johnny Damon circa 2004.
We did not.
And so, like, this is just baseball. It's just business. The Yankees will recover. They still have lots of resources. They now have lots of money to spend. They would have actually had trouble constructing a roster with Soto. And I think now you just got to move on and let's get creative, right? Let's talk about what do you do next?
All right. So I hate your idea, EJ. So why don't you float it, Mike? I don't think Mike knows it yet. So maybe you could sell Mike.
So I was looking around for left-handed hitters to trade for. I had kind of 2 different strategies I've talked about it since.
Just interrupt. I loved your first idea. It's your second
okay, because I have 2 ideas. One is to go pitching and defense. Right, that's where the free agents are right now.
Yep.
You're not going to replace Soto's offense even remotely, even if you signed the best guys available, and then you burn up your whole budget. But the Yankees had a really awful defense last year, and it's really not that hard to shore it up, to really improve in it, for it to become a real strength. And like, arguably, I think I laid out a path to having the best defense in the league. And then you could sign, along with that, you could sign Max Fried or Corbin Burns and then have a top pitcher. We know the Yankees are talking to both. I think that's probably the route that they go. Maybe they end up, that includes like a Bregman or someone like that, someone to be that offensive player. But I wasn't happy with that. Like, I had commenters who weren't happy with that. And I said, okay, well, let me find a hitter. Right, let me find a trade target hitter. Cody Bellinger's the name that's out there, but he's not good enough. He's probably worth trading for. The money, I think he's pretty overpaid, but there's a world where Cody Bellinger makes a lot of sense. But I wanted a better version of Cody Bellinger. I wanted a left-handed hitter that could hit number 2. Bellinger, he doesn't have the on base to hit number 2. And I settled on Christian Yelich. Yelich, just coming off a 900 OPS season. I'm gonna let Paul explain my case while this happens. So Paul, go.
Yeah, all right. I'm gonna explain the case for Yelich. I just have to get EJ's article up here, so I'll do that as The internet, of course, gets super slow. It says Yankees should trade for Christian Yelich.
So Yelich, right? He's on the Milwaukee Brewers. He's
33 years old.
33 years old. He's getting paid $26 million a year for 4 seasons and has
$110.5 million.
has a mutual option. He probably would have to. You'd probably have to let him exercise if he for his last season, for him to waive his no trade clause. But that's a less than $20 million, $26 million cap hit. Coming off a 900 OPS season, he ended it early with back surgery in August. He's had back problems for a few years. Decided if he finally had to have the surgery, he's going to be healthy for spring training. I think he's a really good player. I think he's a pretty darn good number 2 hitter. He pretty much never has an OBP below 350 and has been, I think, at 400 and 380 the last 2 years. Really talented. A lefty who probably is not going to hit a lot of home runs in Yankee Stadium. He doesn't have a pull swing, but I think could hit a lot of singles and doubles in left field in Yankee Stadium. Plays left field primarily, and has also been taking reps at first base because the Brewers have a billion outfielders, which is why they might want to trade him. And I'm done.
Yep. That was pretty much the whole story. So what do you think, Mike?
Well, I think Yelich really came back, because of course he was an elite player for a long time, and I guess for a few seasons, and then he really regressed. But last year he bounced back. So I think there's something to like about that. If I were the GM, and I like EJ's first article, I think was going heavy on pitching, going heavy on defense.
Did you read that one?
I did see that one.
Okay, good.
Except
okay,
I
good.
would go. Except I would, I would love it, and I don't get too deep into like choose this player, choose that player, but in this case, I think I'll make an exception. I'd like to see him go after both Fried and Burns, and
you're talking my language now.
And then, frankly, what that does is, that frees up, and I don't know how popular this would be, but you could turn around Luis Gil for a pretty darn good position player. And you could probably turn around Clark Schmidt into a decent position player. But Gil, you could probably turn around, and Gil will probably be at his highest value coming off rookie, or a pretty high value coming off of that. So I think there is opportunity for creative work. I think you could get that deal for someone like Yelich. I wonder if a guy like Stroman might be a good guy to kind of package towards Yelich. I think that'd be a shorter duration obligation for the Brewers, and I'm sure the Brewers could probably use some pitching. I think there's just there's some opportunity to be creative, and I think come up with a pretty interesting team.
Well, this is the hope. I just don't have any faith that they're going to actually do it. I just don't. I think the industry has passed the Yankees by at this point. But you, Mr. Whiteman, were just saying some of the same things that's going to appear in an article, unbeknownst to you, because it's unbeknownst to everybody. Everybody, nobody has seen this article. It's being written as we speak by the brilliant Ethan Semendinger. And we'll get your reaction and EJ's reaction to basically what you said. If you get Burns and Fried, now you've got a heck of a rotation. You've got Cole, Burns, Fried, Rodon, and Schmidt. You keep Nestor around maybe because you need another guy who could spot start or whatever. But now Luis Gil is expendable. And I think the idea is, in Ethan's idea, the Marcus Stroman gets traded for Cody Bellinger. But the Yankees still need a bat. And here's a player, EJ's back.
And they need a center fielder, I think. They need a
well, this is a left fielder. And listen to this guy. He's a left-handed hitting outfielder who actually, it looks like he has only played mostly right field. But I'm going to say he can play left field because he's a Gold Glover. I thought he was. No, he's played a lot of left field. Last couple of years, he's played more right field, but he came up playing mostly left field. Okay. Watch these numbers. Here's his baseball reference WAR. 2021, 5.7. 2022, 5.4. 2023, 5.4. 2024, 4.7. This guy's hit over the last 4 years 30, 30, 29, and 23 home runs. He's batted 294, 257, 284, 289. His OPS plus over those last 4 years, 147, 129, 142, 181. Who might this secret guy be who is still just 27? He'll turn 28 this January. And when asked, his team owner said everybody is on the table. I would not rule anybody out. And what if you packaged Luis Gil and Spencer Jones for the young 28-year-old, three-time All-Star, Silver Slugger, and Gold Glove winner, Kyle Tucker?
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot for 1 year.
And
right.
then
I
you
mean,
said it's a lot for 1 year, and you said contingent on the deal is that we get to talk to him and sign him to an extension, and you offer him 10 years at $40 million a year. He's never going to say no to that. And it's half of what you would have spent. Half of what you would have spent on Juan Soto, and now you've got a heck of.
I can't remember the last time an MLB team secured an extension pre-trade. I think that if Tucker's on the market, there'll be so many people interested in him that teams that aren't going to bother with the extension will have an advantage. So I don't like this. Is not if the Astros want to move Kyle Tucker, like they're going to find 20 bidders. Or whatever, however many contending teams there are, because Kyle Tucker's great. I mean, when we think about plan Bs for Soto, what do you do next year? I think you sign. I think there's a world where you sign him as a free agent, right? I think Tucker is a really good option for the Yankees to spend a lot of money on. I think he's a player that will be good for a long time next year. Now, if he's available and you could trade him for 1 year, I think you do it. I don't think Luis Gil is on the table though. I think Spencer Jones absolutely is. I think that, you could talk about Clark Schmidt. You could talk about, there's guys there that I think absolutely could be part of the deal. I think the Astros are probably going to want someone who's ready now. But I think the reason why they're thinking about this is if they lose Bregman, they're not good. The Astros barely made the playoffs last year, and 4 wins from Bregman, and I feel like they've lost a couple of other guys that I'm not thinking about. They might be kind of circling the drain. It might be time for them to refresh a little bit. And I think that's why they'd be interested in trading Tucker, because I guess they're not interested in signing him to a $300 million deal or something. So I love Kyle Tucker. I'll trade for him in an instant. I'll sign him next year. I think this. I don't think that's I think that's a contingency that happens if Bregman goes elsewhere, and maybe he goes elsewhere tomorrow. Right? That the winter meetings, it could happen. I sense that he's going to get, he's going to get a bigger contract offer than what the Astros offered him. They offered him $156 million, I think. Whereas the, Willy Adames got another $30 million on top of that. I think Bregman's probably better. I think I wouldn't hold out for Kyle Tucker. But the Yankees absolutely should spend a lot of money to try to get him, spend a lot of prospects to try to get him if they can.
Would you? All right. So is Gil and Spencer Jones too much or not enough?
Too much. I think Gil is really valuable, right? This is a guy who has 5 more years of team control, who just won the Rookie of the Year award, who I think is, was really, really, really good until he got tired, which we all saw coming. And as far as we know, is healthy and is going to start the season, I think, potentially as an ace. I think Gil's a high variance player, right? He's a guy that maybe he's just loses it next year, and it wouldn't shock really any of us, right? But also if he comes out with a 2.90 ERA next year, that doesn't shock me, not one bit. I mean, I think when we saw the best of Gil, we were talking about him as a Cy Young candidate in June. And
is Clark Schmidt enough to get him?
I think it might be. Clark Schmidt's got 3 years of team control left. He's got a reasonable salary. I think he's getting paid 3.5 this year or something like that. I think he showed really good stuff last year. He's my pick to go to the Brewers for Yelich because I think that a team that cares about like spin rate and stuff, and I think Schmidt is really appealing that way. He's also like older than he feels. He's like 28, 29 with 3 years of team control. That means that basically you're getting the best possible years of Schmidt. Like you're not worried about his arm falling apart or something. Like he's as good as he's ever going to be, and you're willing to kind of ride him. So I think Schmidt's a really interesting trade piece. And when we talk about signing a Burns or a Fried, or a Roki Sasaki, one of the upside parts of that is you get to trade someone, and you get to get a bat hopefully for that trade.
Mike Whiteman, I just got a phone call that says you have been named the general manager of the Houston Astros. Congratulations!
Oh, no, thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, so you now get to yes or no any of these deals. Would you trade Kyle Tucker for Clark Schmidt?
I'd try to hold out for more.
Would you trade Luis Heel for Kyle Tucker?
I'd think about that one. I would think about that. EJ is right. There's certainly potential with Heel. The other thing is, and I think is very crucial, is what happens with Bregman. And I think if Bregman leaves, then Houston is really in kind of a pickle in terms of competing now. And so if I'm running the Astros and I'm not sure that I'm going to sign Tucker, and I'm not sure if Tucker wants to sign with me, I try to get Spencer Jones too, of course, but Heel wouldn't be a bad piece.
All right, what if it's Spencer Jones straight up?
No, I wouldn't do. No, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. And frankly, I think someone like Houston might even turn around and take a Heel, and depending on how much they want to rebuild, they can probably turn Heel into probably about 2 or 3 good prospects too.
All right. Well, I'm liking the Kyle Tucker idea. If the Yankees get Kyle Tucker, he's actually a better fielder than Juan Soto.
He can run too. I think. Incredible player. I mean, he arguably at times in his career has been better than Juan Soto. Not better than Soto last year, but the version of Soto that didn't play defense at all, was a little less potent when not batting Yankee Stadium in front of Aaron Judge. Kyle Tucker's been better than that. He's a little older. He's probably not going to last as long as Juan Soto. But if he gets $400 million, I won't be shocked. I mean, I think one of the things that Soto talked about is he wanted to push the prices of Major League free agents up. Just did it, right? I mean, I don't know what Bregman's going to cost now. I don't know what Kyle Tucker, Vlad Jr. are going to cost. But it could be
Kyle Tucker can also steal a base. He stole 11 last year. Only played in 78 games, 4.7 WAR in 78 games, double that, and it's 9.4 for a full season. So 11.
And the Yankees were also the worst base running team in baseball last year.
30 the year before, 25 the year before that. I mean, this guy makes it. The Yankees. When Ethan threw this at me, I'm like, what? And then, you hear the reports that the Astros are saying everybody's on the table. Anything, make us an offer. And I'm saying, boy, oh boy, if we could get Kyle Tucker, all of a sudden, I want Juan Soto. Of course I did. But it's basically almost Juan Soto with some areas where he's better, some areas where he's worse. Juan Soto's a generational ball player as far as on base percentage. We've gone through that. But he has some upsides that Juan doesn't have, and you can get him for half price.
I mean, this is the argument against spending $65-70 million in annual value on Fried and Corbin Burns, because next year you have Guerrero and Tucker available. And I think the Yankees, I have much more confidence in the Yankees. One, their current set of starting pitchers going in the short term, right? I think they're fine. They're not great, but they're fine. And two, their ability to find cheap versions of these players. They just did with Hill. Their farm system's not in great shape right now, but they have lots of, flyer pitchers. One of them could be the next Luis Hill. And I have no confidence other than in Jason Dominguez that they have another major league hitter, like first division starter, period. Right. There's a couple of guys that are interesting. Peraza, Caleb Durbin, but they're interesting in they might be fine, but there's no stars there. The only way the Yankees are going to acquire stars is by paying for it at the free agent, as on the free agent market or the trade market. Christian Yelich is the best I could do, and frankly, it's not a great option. There's not the trade market is not going to the trade market's not going to help either. Unless Tucker or Guerrero are on the market and you pay through your nose for them from an already terrible farm system. So you're paying for the major league team mostly in order to acquire these players. Unless you do that, there is no number 2, number 4, whatever bat available other than Christian Yelich, right? And, there's a couple of guys in the free agent market that'd be good. Like Bregman could be in there somewhere, but you got to pay for it. And I think the lesson I'm taking from the current version of Major League Baseball is that hitting is what's scarce now. Pitching used to be scarce. We used to talk about how you could never have enough pitching, and that's now wrong. Pitching is no longer scarce. Lots of teams went from having no pitching 2 years ago to having great pitching last year. Look at the Detroit Tigers. Look at the Yankee bullpen between the first half and the second half of the year. Look at Luis Hill coming out of nowhere, right? Teams have the ability to find random pitchers out of nowhere and have them be good in the major leagues. And the Yankees have some track record there. I think a pretty good track record. They have a terrible track record of finding good major league hitting from either player development or, since 2019, the bargain basement trade market. Right, the last real major league hitter they found was Gio Urshela, Trevino. You really gotta dig deep. And I think that's the reason to not spend it on pitching, or at least maybe only spend on one pitcher, and get some short-term deals like a Carlos Santana, a Paul Goldschmidt, a Suarez, trade for a reasonable average annual value guy like Yelich, or short-term Bellinger, some of these deals, and then have $40 million in the hopper ready to go for Tucker or Guerrero. I don't think Guerrero Jr. is getting Soto's contract. I've seen a couple of people speculate that, and I think that's crazy. He's not Juan Soto. He is less consistent. He is in worse shape. He is not going to be a great player after his 35th birthday. We all know that. He's not nearly as good when he's good. He doesn't have the same temperament as Juan Soto, right? He plays a less valuable position. There's a lot of reasons not to go get Vlad Guerrero Jr. for less, for $700 million. He might cost $450 million, right? Which would be the second or third largest contract in baseball history. I think that's just the reality of the market right now.
Right. So all the numbers are set. So let me push back then. When it seems as though each year now the numbers are so astronomical that they make the big contracts from just a couple of years ago. People are saying oh my God, Lindor's getting paid so much, and look at that contract Bryce Harper signed, $300 million. Oh my God, that's crazy. Now those contracts don't look so crazy, right, Mike?
No, they don't. That's for sure. And Harper's looking better and better all the time.
Let me ask you guys this. You guys are both kind of old. Do you have a cable package?
I do.
Yes. Costs way too much. I
do not have a cable package. I pay for MLB TV for the New York Yankees, and nobody else.
I want to go back to the old part.
Well, yes, you're not as old as some people who still have cable packages, but I believe the number of people who have cable packages is half of what it was 5 years ago, and I suspect it'll be less than half of what it is 5 years from now. One of the reasons why baseball salaries
I will agree,
to go up, faster than the rate of inflation, is that more money has been entering baseball year after year after year because of really nice cable package money. Even late in cables like death throes, as cable was on decline, they were still paying big money for sports because sports sold cable packages. Doesn't anymore. And I think there's a really good chance that this is like a crash, meaning that a couple of teams like the Yankees and Dodgers and Mets and Red Sox, they still have some money coming from local cable, but 3 years from now, no one else does. In that case, you're talking about taking a quarter of every team's revenue. That's going to come up in CBA negotiations. It's going to lower overall prices because there'll be even less competition. It's going to create more of a baseball inequality problem. And I don't like, this is why I think Soto's contract is so risky. There's not only like a Soto risk, there's world risk, right? There's risk that no one is ever paid $51 million again. There's risk that the salary cap or the luxury tax goes down, or a salary cap comes in and you have to clear money off your payroll or buy out players or whatever. I don't know. And that's why I think Soto is not a great deal. Like, because 15 years from now, it still might look very, very expensive, even with normal inflation and all that.
Or
so
it could look like Harper's deal.
It could. But, Harper's deal, frankly, at the time looked cheap. Like, Harper took a $300 million deal over like 14 years, 13 years, because no one else would give him a deal. There's alleged collusion. And, I think he made a mistake by not having opt-outs. He took a bad deal. Like there's no team wanted him, or no team was willing to pay him that much money. And that barrier broke right after he did it. And then all of a sudden, teams started paying fair value. So I think think about say A-Rod's deal, his second deal that blew up in 2 years. He was overpaid. You can think about Miguel Cabrera's deal that blew up quick. Mike Trout's deal that blew up quick. Further back, Griffey's deal blew up quick. Mm-hmm. These are Albert Pujols. These are all time, some of the most talented players ever. And they weren't great after 32 or so. Now Soto's got some years before that. So he is going to clean up for the next 5 years. I think it's going to be an incredible buy. He's worth way more than $51 million a year for the next 5 years. I just worry about the 10 years after that. And what that does to your roster construction. And the risk of him being a potato for 10 years. I mean, think about how Miguel Cabrera or Trout and Rendon and Pujols, all these guys held back their clubs. I think that's a possibility. And that's why, Guerrero Jr. is not going to get that kind of big contract, because at least Soto's upside is there. And there's a world where he's Ted Williams. He's great till he's 38, right? And cool, right? Then the Mets win. There's a world where he opts out at 31 and gets a bigger contract, or forces Cohen to pay him an extra $4 million a
little bit more.
Yeah, well, it's a lot more, right? And he might try to pull the same Cole stuff that Cole tried to pull. So, I guess we're back to Soto stuff, but I don't like this assumption that the salaries will always go up, and I'm actually worried about the Yankees, in the near term. I'm worried about how do you build a roster if the luxury tax goes down by $40 million. Which it could. And I'm worried about there being a work stoppage in 2 years, because I think 25 teams are about to be in the red. And some of these, I wish these billionaire owners would just float their teams, but they don't. And some of them are real companies. They can't. They have to make money. They're businesses. And the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Mets, they can play a different game. But I'm not sure how long that lasts.
Mike, what do you think?
I have read, some about that. I think there were some teams, EJ, correct me, but some teams, when was it Texas, I believe, they were kind of struggling with the local TV, and I think was it Arizona might have been as well.
Yeah, there was one of the holding companies that operate a lot of these channels went bankrupt, and basically there was MLB actually tried to buy the rights from the bankruptcy court, and they basically settled with their creditors and signed them to a lower amount for 1 year. So this isn't going away. And what baseball is trying to do is they're trying to buy the rights to all the teams. Mm-hmm. The problem is that the valuable rights are still making money, right? The YES Network is still making money. They're still trying to create their own streaming thing along with everyone else in New Jersey, in the New Jersey area. So the Gotham Sports app is how they're trying to make money. And maybe there'll be a Los Angeles version of that or something like that kind of keeps some of those rights. But that actually prevents the rest of baseball from making money, because what you want one package that you can sell either to a single streamer and say, Netflix, you want all baseball games? Here's, give me $2 billion. And that's split between the teams or split in some mathematical formula based on market size. But the Yankees don't want to do that because they're making money still. Sure. Eventually they won't. right? Eventually, the Yes Network will no longer be making much money. And you saw that, for example, with Michael Kay's show, which just got, I don't know, canceled. What happened there? He got like moved out of a time slot or something like that, or his contract he couldn't renegotiate.
There was. I don't know that I don't know all the background of that, but long story short, big traditional New York based. Yep. You knew these guys, EJ, when you lived here on the East Coast. CBS, All News Radio
WFAN.
88. No, when it was All News Radio 88, WFAN was 66, 660. And there were two All News stations, 1010 Wins and All News 88. And All News 88 just ran out of money. They're done. And ESPN radio was, I don't think, making money. And so they switched to the AM dial, which nobody does. They went from their FM station to just on the AM dial. And they're trying to get people to listen through their app or Spotify or however they're going to try to do it. But as I understand it, that whole situation with ESPN radio was slowly dying anyway.
Yeah, well, the point is like these old broadcast style media, right? Media that's going to large groups of people and either paid for just by ads because it's going to so many people for free or through a piece of your cable subscription. It's dying, and people are going to be buying just baseball. Just baseball fans are going to buy baseball. Maybe there'll be some sports bundle you can buy and get a deal if you're a fan of a bunch of sports. I subscribe to ESPN Plus just for New Jersey Devils games. There's like a million things in there that I don't watch. Maybe that's the future.
Do you think if the Yankees, let's say the Yankees would cost on this New York sports app $500 for the season? I'm just making up numbers. I have no idea. But if you get the Jets with the Yankee package, it only costs $100 because it's so painful to watch the Jets lose every game.
But even when the Jets are terrible, they're making money off of that national streaming stuff, right? I just think that I think that baseball is getting ready for it to have less money, and this has never happened before. It's going to cause massive labor problems, and it's going to split the owners, right? Because the Yankees are like, we're fine, probably, like we're making money. The Dodgers are like, we're making money, but when even a team that you thought was healthy, like the Rangers, are in trouble because they just lost their TV deal and the streaming package pays 10% of what their TV deal did. They're in trouble. And so like, I that's why I'm leery not only of like a long-term Soto deal, like any like super, super long-term deal at this point. I kind of like the Yelich idea because like all that money's coming off the books in 4 years. Whereas, a 7, 8, 9 year Kyle Tucker deal scares me. This is all like I don't think that the CBA negotiations are just going to be like, well, Yankees, you lose. You forfeit because you have too much money, right? But I do think that there's going to be ratcheted down where the Yankees are not going to be able to keep spending $300 million a year. That's just kind of my prognosis. And
so let me ask you this. Let me
yep.
Go on. Is Steve Cohen a smart businessman?
Yes, but he's not running the Mets as a business. He does not.
I think that's a huge leap of faith. I don't know. When I was a kid, there was the neighborhood on Halloween where the more wealthy houses were. And I remember like there was a thought, very smart thought when you're 12 or whatever. Let's go to the expensive houses because I bet you they give the best candy. And we went to the expensive houses and we found out they gave the worst candy. And you went to the little houses and they gave the best candy. And there was some type of thing about, well, the people who have the most money don't always spend the money because they're smarter than just
He just spent $800 million on Juan Soto, right? Steve Cohen.
Correct.
Right?
Yes, he did. Which leads me to believe this is my counter to your thought. Steve Cohen is one of the 100 richest people in the world. You don't get to be one of the 100 richest people in the world by saying, I think I'm just going to waste a whole bunch of money.
How much do you think his yacht costs?
I'm
out here in Arizona.
I'm
out here in Arizona next to $5 million homes all over here in the north of Phoenix. And you know how often people are there? Like I've taken a walk around some of these neighborhoods and they are empty, right? I
But
mean,
they
like
can afford
at
it.
some point, at some point it doesn't matter, right? At some point, you lose $100 million. Who cares, right? I'm worth 21 billion. I made more than that in interest last month. I just don't. I actually think it's a problem for baseball if some owners are running it as a business and some are running it as a vanity. I wish they all ran it as vanity projects, but that's not the case. Like for example, you have ownership groups where like you have like 15 owners, and they're like, it's a business, right?
That's
we all
business.
have 5%. We don't all get to be the owner on the phone with Juan Soto. We're 5% owners. We expect money back in our investment. The Dodgers are like that, for instance.
Doesn't
The
seem to
Braves are
stop
like
them
that.
from getting guys.
Well, the Dodgers are making a ton of money, and I'll tell you, I mean, Shohei Ohtani,
And that's my point. I think
signed a
Steve Cohen looks at
team-friendly
the
deal.
numbers and he goes, you know what? I'm going to pay Juan Soto $700 million, and that investment's going to pay me $900 million. I don't think he's making deals to lose money.
But the luxury tax is still a reality, and the Mets have a lower luxury tax payment number after Soto than the Yankees. And so I think there was a line where it's too much money when we were talking about, hey, is it going to go to $600 million? Well, then you do the math, you're like, oh yeah, fine, right? $45 million for 12 years. That seems perfectly normal and perfectly fair for Juan Soto. But then it goes up and up and up. And eventually there's a point where you go, it's not a good baseball move anymore, right? I have a budget and I have to stabilize that budget. That budget might shrink. And I'm locking in a sixth of the budget for 15 years.
Let's hear what Michael's thought is.
Yeah, I think EJ makes the point, and because I've been sitting here as well trying to think, how do you parlay, $800 million, how do you get your money back with that? And obviously, you've got the attendance will hopefully go up. You've got rights to, again, television. You've got rights to, I guess, I don't know, do the Mets get memorabilia or, the Soto jerseys, or is that an MLB thing?
So the Mets get a larger share, but it's split between, there's a share goes nationally.
So, yes, I mean, I've been kind of racking in my brain, how do you make 800? I mean, how do you make it back? And I'm sure, and a businessman isn't just looking to make, to come out even. They're looking to make money with it. So, I mean, I'm sure he has more resources to look at this, than I do, in terms of, looking at my household budget. So I'm sure he's got a lot more folks working on it than I do with my budget. But yeah, I mean, that was kind of where I went to at first. It's like, how is he going to make money with this? And again, maybe he, if he's running it as a hobby per se, he's running it because he loves baseball, because he loves the Mets, he loves owning a baseball team. He may not be in it to make money. And,
well, Mike, let me tell you, let's say I gave you $20 billion and the Yankees.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
But the Yankees are going to lose $100 million every year.
I'm signing everybody.
Yeah, Mike is already the GM of the Astros. That's unbelievable.
I mean, look,
there's collusion here.
Cohen was a light. This was like the debate among owners about letting Cohen in. Same with letting Mark Cuban in. They didn't let him buy the Rangers years ago. And it's that, he's a fan, and the fan would rather just the team win and enjoy that. And more power to you. That's how I would live my $20 billion life too. But I think it's just a different mindset, and it's why I think there's just going to be like labor negotiation problems, because we often see a united front from teams when they do these CBAs. Even Cohen was united, when they put in a Cohen tax in the last CBA, but internally they're not. I've mentioned here, I've been witness to union negotiations where we had disagreement arising from the situations that people were in. We had very different salaries among people on the negotiating committee, and they had disagreements about what to prioritize. I think that's going to come to a head, and I think it's going to be we're outvoted. The big market teams are outvoted. There are fewer big market teams than there used to be. There used to be 15 teams that could spend near the top of what everybody spent. Maybe the Yankees and Dodgers spent a little more. And if you look at the teams that are in on the big free agents, it's like the Giants, the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Mets, the Red Sox, the Blue Jays. No one else is in on any of these top guys. Like, I don't think Corbin Burns is going back to the Orioles. I don't think he's going to Miami, right? Like this is not, take a medium market team. He's not going to the Cubs, right? They're not interested in Corbin Burns. The Cubs are in Chicago, right? In Wrigley Field. And I just think that that's just a reality of baseball right now. Like, I think that we're seeing it happen. And so maybe like the luxury tax stays stable. I think that's the most likely thing to happen, but you're still not looking at this looking great in a few years, right? I don't think we're going to look back on this in 3 years and be like, man, Soto signed for 51 and then Vlad signed for 60. Soto's a bargain. Like that seems implausible to me.
All right,
you're seeing other
number.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
If the average ticket price was $300 for a postseason game, and I think in New York that's probably undervalue for the average ticket price of not the raised price that fans on StubHub got for $1,000 a Yankee game. I'm just talking about the marked price, the ticket price from the team. I think it's even set by Major League Baseball. I'm not sure. But if the average ticket price was $300 and the Yankees have 47,000 seats and they sold out, which they did, each postseason game brought in $14,100,000. $14,100,000. Times that by how many home games did they play? I don't know. 1, 2 per round, 2, 4, 6.
Yankees made a lot of money this year, right? And
what's that?
I want
84. Wait, that's $84,600,000. $84,600,000.
This guy.
$84
now,
million.
Paul, I want you to picture this guy. And one day, this guy is going to be a freshman in high school.
Yes,
and
he
Juan
is.
Soto will be under contract with the New York Mets for $55 million.
Yes.
Right?
And the Mets
might not be able to make the postseason for 6-7 years if that's an albatross contract. Maybe Steve Cohen no longer cares. Maybe he sells the team, whatever, right? Maybe baseball changes its rules to not let him spend all that much money. This guy will be thinking about college, right? That's how long of a time frame we're talking. So, yeah, like Soto is worth $55 million for a while, right? Like I think at least for 4 years, you have to say like that's a killer deal for the Mets. The Mets are going to be trying to win now because like that's the window, and that's why the opt-out's at 31, right? If he's still good, maybe he can opt out and get a little more money, or force the Mets to up his salary, or Soto's bad and the Mets take the downside for 10 years. To me, like that's just like the risk that I'm kind of happy the Yankees aren't taking. The counterfactual isn't the Yankees signed nobody. So they signed $51 million worth of someone else. And they could do most of Burns and Fried if you want, or whatever, Bregman and Burns, or Christian Yelich and Fried, whatever, right? Like these are all alternative solutions the Yankees have, and that's for fewer years. That's for 4 years. And then Giancarlo Stanton's contract comes off the book. LeMahieu's contract comes off the book. And all those young like stars in baseball right now that saw Soto sign for $700, $800 million are going to look at their agents and be like, do not sign an extension. Like, I am not signing that extension. I want to go in the free market as a 27-year-old, 26-year-old and go make, massive amounts of money. To me, that's the game you're playing, and you're locking yourself out of those guys if you ruin your roster construction now.
All right, Michael, you get the last word.
As I said before, it was disappointing. I was just picturing for years, Judge and Soto together. I mean, in 2024, they were Ruth and Gehrig type quality. I can't remember any other. Ruth and Gehrig, Mantle Maris. I was pretty excited for what that would be for like the next few years, because I don't think it isn't going to last forever. But I saw a window for about the next 3-4 years, and I thought that'd have been pretty cool. It isn't happening, but again, I don't think the sky is falling. I think that the Yankees, if and this is an if, with good management and with some money behind it, I think can still be a pretty darn good team. And just one quick thing is that the Yankees have been mocked by the Dodgers. Many players of the Dodgers were mocking the Yankees. And Juan Soto basically has said, I don't want to play for I would rather play for the Mets than play for the Yankees. And certainly there's a monetary piece to that. But you wonder if will something galvanize this team? Because, we've always said that the team just doesn't look like it has a lot of urgency on the field or in the front office. Could something like this galvanize them and just say, come out and be real aggressive with player acquisitions, be really focused on the field, have an edge to it. I don't know, but I'm hoping that
Michael,
it will.
Let's hope so. For Mike Whiteman, EJ Fagan, the new EJ Fagan, and start spreading the news on the Northeast Streaming Sports Network. Thank you for watching. We are over time, so thank you. Have a great night, and